So check this out here, look.
Oh, wow.
Look at these beaver dams here. It's just an ordinary ditch.
Ben Goldsmith takes us on a tour of his Somerset farm. At each turn, almost, he revels in showing us how a resident pair of beavers are transforming parts of this landscape.
So look how they've cut all of these little black poplar and European aspen here. And this will be a carpet of fresh growth within about 6-8 weeks' time. And that's where all the butterflies and the moths lay their eggs. It's where the caterpillars are.
Long-time environmentalist and financier, he is the son of the late billionaire tycoon and politician Sir James Goldsmith. His brother Zach is a government minister. And central to his politics is the vast biodiversity crisis we now face.
If nature is wealth, Britain ranks among the poorest nations on earth. We are among the most nature-depleted countries on the planet. We rank alongside Ireland, Malta, Kuwait in that regard. And people are starting to understand that we really need healthy, abundant, vibrant nature all around us. It's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. And we need it not just for the tangible things that we can kind of count, you know, the mitigation of flooding and drought and for clean water and clean air and for healthy soil to grow our food in. We need it on a more visceral level.
He has just written a book called God is an Octopus, a powerful manifesto for rewilding and a deeply personal account of loss.
Look how giant that is. I was right next to them.
So we were really young when Iris was born. I was only 22 years old, so she was almost a little sister for me, and such a bright little spark from the very beginning, so on the ball, so ahead of everyone else in whatever conversation we were having, and such an outdoorsy little girl. She was always out on her pony or exploring the farm.
Nearly 4 years ago, his 15-year-old daughter Iris, from his first marriage to Kate Rothschild, had been driving a farm vehicle with a friend. Leaving the track, it suddenly flipped over. Iris died, trapped underneath.
Losing a child's the thing that you imagine you could never survive. But quite quickly, I realized that I had no choice but to find a way to go on living. I have other children, I have a young wife, I have family that depends on me. And in the beauty of nature around me was where the first rays of light shone through the darkness. So this is where the accident happened. But strangely, it's not an unhappy place. I mean, the children come and play hide and seek in these stones and
he shows me the imposing stone circle built in Iris's memory. This book is part spiritual odyssey of a father immersed in grief, desperate to find any ongoing trace of his daughter.
I don't necessarily think that our experience ends with death, but I don't know how to articulate it any better than that. I just feel a sense of closeness with my daughter who's gone, who died here.
Her death, he says, has emboldened him to join a network of others locally in rewilding. So now he has longhorn cattle roaming through a mosaic of wood pastures. But he knows his call for wilder forms of farming, far less sheep-intensive, has its opponents. He knows also he speaks from a position of privilege.
I think that's one of the iniquities that we talk about far too little. You know, people who can't step out of their door and find themselves in a wood or by a brook that has glowworms floating above it. And I think that that should be one of the most important missions of our time, to reconnect people with nature.
And that includes politicians, few of whom, he argues, have yet to grasp the gravity of the situation.
The birdsong here at Canwood, at certain times of the year, is almost overwhelming. It's so riotous now. You feel it in your bones. Once you've felt it, everywhere else by comparison feels silent. So I think that's got to be a primary task, is connecting politicians of all political hues with nature. Once they appreciate it, then they will start to raise their ambition to restore it. But this place just absolutely heaves with life. The dragonflies, frogs, fish, all kinds of things are in here.
He remains optimistic that politics will respond further to a growing public demand. One ultimately, in his view, he's part of a wildcat breeding program, which needs a major psychological shift to embrace species reintroduction.
I think we have a moral duty to put back those things which we have destroyed, including those things that are difficult to live with. I'm of the view that until we find a way harmoniously to coexist with those difficult species that should be here, species like wolves, we will not find harmony with nature itself. It feels to me totemic.
What do you think Iris would make of this now? Because it's changed so much, hasn't it?
Yeah, she grew up on a very traditionally managed farm. It's unrecognisable, but it's as if the volume has been turned up on nature here, and she would have loved that.
Just coming back to the book, it strikes me that at the heart of it is a love letter to nature and a love letter to your daughter Iris.
Yeah, that's exactly what the book is.
It is a book laden with grief, but one which sees its author grasping a love of nature as a lifeline, later finding poignantly wild irises in new places, and, as he puts it, a sense of relief, purpose, and eventually even joy.